In 1952, a secretary named Dorothy Kline walked into the Horn and Hardart Automat on 42nd Street in New York City with 60 cents in her pocket and fed herself lunch for 3 days from what she found behind those little glass doors. Number 18 on this list was so popular that Horn and Hardart sold more of it in a single afternoon than most restaurants sell in a week. Number 11 was the meal that Frank Sinatra, Cary Grant, and construction workers from the Bronx all ate at the same counter without anyone thinking it was unusual. And number 1, the item that defined the Horn and Hardart experience for 60 years, disappeared so completely when the last automat closed in 1991 that most Americans alive today have never tasted anything remotely like it. Here's what nobody tells you about the Horn and Hardart Automat. It was not a vending machine restaurant. It was not a novelty. It was the most democratic dining room in American history. You walked in, you put your nickels in the slot, the little glass door swung open, and you took your food. No waiter, no tipping, no judgment. A senator and a shoeshine man sat at the same table and ate the same macaroni and cheese, and neither one of them thought anything of it. That is not something any restaurant before or since has ever achieved, and it is something America has never properly mourned losing. These 25 foods fed New York and Philadelphia through the Depression, through World War II, through the 1950s boom years, and the turbulent 1960s. They cost almost nothing. They were made fresh every morning in kitchens the size of city blocks, and they disappeared because fast food convinced America that cheap food had to be fast and disposable rather than honest and real. Hit that subscribe button and let us count down the 25 forgotten Horn and Hardart Automat foods nobody talks about anymore. Number 25, baked beans. Horn and Hardart's baked beans were not from a can. They were made from scratch every morning in the commissary kitchens that supplied every automat in New York and Philadelphia. Navy beans soaked overnight, cooked with molasses and salt pork and brown sugar until thick and deeply sweet and smoky in a way that no canned version has ever approached. A small dish cost 5 cents in 1935. Office workers, factory hands, and retired teachers all ordered the same beans from the same slot and ate them at the same tables. The recipe was so consistent across 60 years of operation that regulars said they could taste the difference if the molasses brand changed. When the last automat closed, the recipe went with it. Number 24, creamed spinach. Nobody made creamed spinach like Horn and Hardart. Fresh spinach cooked down and folded into a cream sauce so thick it held its shape on the spoon, seasoned with nutmeg and white pepper. It appeared behind those little glass doors every single day for 60 years, and it was ordered by people who claimed they did not like spinach and then ordered it again the next day. A portion cost a nickel. The commissary kitchens produced it in quantities that required industrial-scale spinach deliveries every morning before dawn. Modern restaurants charge $14 for creamed spinach that does not come close to what costs 5 cents behind a glass door on 42nd Street. Number 23, rice pudding. Horn and Hardart rice pudding was the dessert that made grown men sentimental. Short grain rice cooked low and slow in whole milk with vanilla and sugar until every grain dissolved into a thick creamy custard with a golden skin on top that crinkled when you touched it with a spoon. A dish cost 5 cents. It was the dessert that appeared in the automat every afternoon and disappeared before the dinner rush because nobody could resist it. Veterans returning from World War II reportedly went directly to the nearest automat before going home because the rice pudding was the first thing they wanted to eat after years overseas. Number 22, chicken pot pie. Individual chicken pot pies baked in the commissary every morning, delivered to every automat still warm, placed behind the glass doors, and sold for 15 cents each. The crust shattered when the fork hit it. The filling inside was thick with real chicken pulled from the bone, carrots, peas, and a cream sauce that had been made from the chicken stock the birds had cooked in. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was from a can. A 15-cent pie contained more actual chicken than most modern pot pies that cost $12. When Horn and Hardart closed, nobody was making individual pot pies from scratch at scale, and nobody has done it since. Number 21, macaroni and cheese. This was the dish that defined Horn and Hardart more than any other. Made from scratch every morning. Real cheddar, not processed cheese. Elbow macaroni cooked al dente, folded into a thick cheese sauce, topped with breadcrumbs, and baked until the top formed a golden crust and the inside stayed creamy and molten. A portion cost 10 cents. It was the meal that every New Yorker who ever visited an automat remembers first. Celebrities ate it, presidents ate it, construction workers ate it. The recipe was so beloved that when Horn and Hardart published a cookbook in 1985, the macaroni and cheese recipe generated more requests than every other recipe combined. The cookbook is out of print. The macaroni is gone. Here is what America lost when the last automat closed. It was not just food. The Horn and Hardart Automat was the place where the city ate together, where the distance between a Park Avenue apartment and a tenement in the Bronx disappeared for the 20 minutes it took to eat a plate of macaroni and cheese. The nickels were the great equalizer. Everyone paid the same. Everyone got the same food. Everyone sat in the same chairs. Fast food replaced it not because it was better, but because it was faster. And in replacing it, America gave up the only truly democratic dining room it ever had and got a paper bag and a numbered receipt in exchange. Number 20, split pea soup. Thick enough to stand a spoon in. Made from dried split peas, simmered for hours with a hand ham hock until the peas dissolved completely into a smooth jade green soup that tasted of nothing but pea and smoke and depth. A bowl cost 5 cents in 1940. Horn and Hardart made it in quantities that required daily ham hock deliveries measured in hundreds of pounds. Office workers ordered it every Friday. Construction workers ordered it every day that ended in Y. The soup ladle that portioned it out behind the glass window was operated by a woman who had been doing exactly that job for 20 years and who poured every bowl to exactly the same level without measuring anything. Number 19, Boston brown bread. Seamed in cylindrical molds, dark and dense, and slightly sweet from the molasses, served in thick slices alongside the baked beans. Horn and Hardart's Boston brown bread was made from rye flour, cornmeal, and whole wheat flour combined with buttermilk and molasses and steamed rather than baked, producing a bread with a moist, almost pudding-like interior and a dark crust that tasted of everything the industrial bread industry has spent 70 years trying to make people forget bread could taste like. It costs 3 cents a slice. Nobody makes it anymore because it takes 3 hours to steam, and the modern food economy has no patience for anything that takes 3 hours. Number 18, coconut custard pie, the single most ordered dessert item in Horn and Hardart history. A deep dish of egg custard, barely set, trembling when the plate moved, crowned with a thick layer of toasted coconut that had been pressed into the custard before baking so it became part of the filling rather than just a topping. A slice cost 10 cents in 1955. Horn and Hardart sold more coconut custard pie in a single Manhattan afternoon than most pie shops sell in a month. The commissary baked hundreds of them every morning. They were gone by 2 in the afternoon every single day. The woman who developed the recipe worked for Horn and Hardart for 31 years and never gave it to anyone outside the company. When the company closed, the recipe was lost. Number 17, vegetable beef soup. Made from real beef bones roasted until dark, simmered for 8 hours, strained, combined with diced vegetables and chunks of beef that had been cooked separately and added at the end so they stay tender rather than dissolving. A bowl cost 5 cents. The soup appeared in the automat every day and tasted different in winter than in summer because the vegetables changed with the season and the commissary cooks adjusted accordingly. This was not a standardized product. It was a recipe that lived and changed with the food supply the way real cooking always has. The last bowl of Horn and Hardart vegetable beef soup was served on April 9, 1991. Nobody documented it. Nobody saved the recipe. It is simply gone. Number 16, corn muffins. Baked fresh every morning in the commissary, delivered to every automat still warm, placed in the glass compartments where the heat of the fresh muffin fogged the little window slightly. A corn muffin cost 5 cents. It was made with real cornmeal, real butter, real eggs, and enough sugar to make it slightly sweet without crossing into dessert. The top was golden and slightly domed. The inside was soft and slightly grainy from the cornmeal and tasted like corn rather than like cornmeal flavored cake mix. Horn and Hardart sold millions of corn muffins across 60 years of operation. The muffin tin size they used was proprietary. The size was discontinued when the company closed. Nobody makes a corn muffin that size anymore. Number 15, creamed chip beef. Dried beef shaved paper thin and creamed in a white sauce made from butter, flour, and whole milk served over white toast on an oval plate. It cost 15 cents in 1945, and it was the meal that veterans who had eaten the military version overseas came back to the automat specifically to reclaim because Horn and Hardart's version proved the dish could be good when the beef came from a real source and the cream sauce was made from real ingredients. The military version was a punishment. The Horn and Hardart version was a revelation. The difference was 20 cents and the knowledge of how to make a cream sauce. Number 14, apple pie. Not the apple pie that exists today in chain restaurants, which is essentially sweetened apple flavored paste in a manufactured crust. Horn and Hardart apple pie used real apples, sliced thick and barely sweetened, so the apple flavor came through rather than being buried under sugar. The crust was made with lard, not shortening, and shattered when the fork touched it. A slice cost 10 cents in 1950. The automat sold it cold from behind the glass door, and it was better cold than most apple pies are warm because the crust stayed intact and the apple slices held their shape. Food writers who remember it say nothing made sense has tasted like it. Food scientists say it is because the lard crust and the barely sweetened filling combination has been entirely abandoned by American baking. Number 13, beef stew. Chunks of actual beef, chuck roast, braised until fork tender, in a thick brown gravy with carrots and potatoes that had been added late enough in the cooking that they still had structure. A bowl cost 15 cents in 1948. Horn and Hardart beef stew appeared in the automat for lunch and dinner every day and was made in the commissary from a recipe that had not changed since 1902. The recipe was calibrated for a 100-gallon batch. The flavor of a 100-gallon batch of properly made beef stew is different from the flavor of a 6-quart home batch in a way that is difficult to explain and impossible to replicate in a home kitchen. When the automat closed, that specific flavor ceased to exist. Number 12, strawberry shortcake. Real shortcake, a biscuit, not a sponge cake. Split and filled with fresh strawberries macerated in sugar and topped with real whipped cream that had been whipped that morning in the commissary and held in cold storage until it was placed behind the glass door. A portion cost 15 cents cents in season. Horn and Hardart only served strawberry shortcake when strawberries were actually in season, which meant it appeared in late spring and disappeared by midsummer, and its arrival was noted by regulars the way other people note the arrival of autumn. The shortcake biscuit was made from the same recipe as the corn muffins with a butter increase. The cream was unsweetened. The strawberries provided all the sweetness needed. This approach to dessert, restrained, seasonal, ingredient forward, has been entirely abandoned by American food culture. Number 11, the Automat table. This was not a food item. It was the experience that made every food item on this list taste better than it would have anywhere else. A marble top table, a bentwood chair, a cup of coffee dispensed from a dolphin-headed spigot for 5 cents with unlimited refills, and the particular silence of a room full of people eating alone together. Not lonely, not isolated, but occupying the same space with the same food and the same nickels and the same right to be there regardless of what they did or where they lived or what their name was. Frank Sinatra ate at those tables before he was famous. Cary Grant ate at those tables when he was very famous, and nobody bothered him because at Horn and Hardart everyone was equal, and equal meant left alone. Construction workers from the Bronx ate at those tables every day for 30 years. The table was the meal. The food was what you ate while you were having it. Number 10, chocolate cream pie. A chocolate custard filling so dark it was almost black, made from real cocoa and real chocolate, and a butter crust topped with real whipped cream applied that morning and held cold until ordered. A slice cost 10 cents. Horn and Hardart chocolate cream pie appeared on the dessert menus of every Automat from 1902 through 1991 without the recipe changing once. 89 years of the same chocolate cream pie. Regulars who ate it for 40 years said it never varied. The commissary cooks who made it said the recipe was written on a card that was laminated and nailed to the wall of the pastry section and had been there since before anyone currently working could remember. Number 9, creamed corn. Fresh corn cut from the cob in summer, frozen corn in winter, cooked in cream and butter until thick and sweet and slightly caramelized at the edges of the serving dish. A portion cost 5 cents. It was the side dish that appeared alongside the macaroni and cheese and the baked beans and the chicken pot pie, and it was the side dish that people ordered on its own and ate as a complete meal when they were eating alone and did not want to make a production of it. Horn and Hardart creamed corn tasted of actual corn rather than of cream and starch because the corn was the primary ingredient rather than a flavoring agent in a cream sauce. This distinction has been lost in every version made since. Number 8, raisin bread toast. Horn and Hardart made their own raisin bread in the commissary. Dense, slightly sweet, packed with raisins that had been plumped in orange juice before being incorporated into the dough. Sliced thick and toasted on a flat top griddle with butter pressed down on it until the surface caramelized and the raisins at the cut edge charred slightly and released a burnt sugar smell that carried across the entire dining room. A slice cost 3 cents toasted. It was the breakfast item that brought people to the Automat before work, and it was the item they missed most when the Automat closed because the raisin bread could not be separated from the flat top griddle and the woman who operated it and the specific temperature she maintained and the specific pressure she applied to the butter, and none of those things can be replicated by any raisin bread toaster currently in existence. Number 7, clam chowder, New England style. Real clams, not canned. A cream base made from the clam liquor and whole milk and nothing else. Diced potatoes added late so they held their shape. No filler, no flour thickener. The chowder thickened from the starch of the potatoes and the cream of the milk and the natural gelatin of the clam liquor, and nothing was added to help it along because nothing was needed. A bowl cost 10 cents in 1950. Horn and Hardart sourced their clams from Long Island Sound, and the chowder tasted of the specific briny sweetness of those clams in a way that the chowder served anywhere else in New York did not. When the source of the clams changed in the 1970s, the regulars noticed immediately and complained, and the sourcing was restored within a month because at Horn and Hardart, the regulars were the quality control department. Number 6, lemon meringue pie. The meringue was torched to order. A slice of lemon curd pie and a butter crust was placed on the counter, and a kitchen worker applied a torch to the meringue top until it blistered and browned in specific spots, and the lemon curd beneath warmed slightly from the heat conducted through the meringue. This happened every time a slice was ordered. It was not pre-torched and held. It was torched fresh for each customer because the texture of freshly torched meringue, crispy on the outside, soft and marshmallowy inside, is entirely different from meringue that has been torched and allowed to sit, and Horn and Hardart knew this and maintained the practice for 60 years, regardless of the labor cost, because the food was the point and the food required it. Number 5, chicken salad sandwich. Leftover roast chicken pulled from the bone by hand in the commissary, chopped with celery and bound with mayonnaise made in-house, not from a jar. Served on white bread with a leaf of iceberg lettuce. A sandwich cost 15 cents in 1955. The chicken came from whole birds roasted with the skin on, and the dark meat went into the salad alongside the white because the commissary cooks understood that dark meat is more flavorful and that a chicken salad made from only white meat tastes of nothing. The mayonnaise was made with real egg yolks and real oil and a splash of lemon juice and seasoned with salt and white pepper and nothing else because nothing else was needed. The sandwich was served cold. It was perfect cold. It has not existed anywhere in in America since 1991. Number 4. Horn Hardart Coffee, 5 cents. Dispensed from a dolphin-headed brass spigot into a white ceramic cup. The coffee was a proprietary blend developed by Horn Hardart in the 1890s and maintained without variation until the last automat closed. It was brewed strong enough to be worth drinking, but not so strong it became bitter. The temperature was calibrated so that it was drinkable immediately rather than requiring 10 minutes to cool. Unlimited refills for the original 5-cent price. The coffee is the thing that automat regulars mention first when they talk about what they miss. Not because it was the best coffee in New York, because it was 5 cents and unlimited, and it came from a dolphin, and you could sit with it for 2 hours and nobody asked you to leave, and that combination of things has not existed anywhere in America since April 9th, 1991. Number 3. Baked macaroni with tomatoes. A variation on the classic macaroni that appeared at certain automats and was considered by regulars who knew it to be superior, even to the legendary cheese version. Elbow macaroni baked with crushed tomatoes and onion and a breadcrumb topping instead of cheese. The tomatoes broke down during baking and coated every piece of pasta in a concentrated sweet acid sauce that was entirely different from the cream-based cheese version. It cost 10 cents. It was the vegetarian option before vegetarian was a word that restaurant menus used, and it was ordered by people who wanted something lighter than the cheese version, and by people who could not afford the cheese version, and by people who simply preferred it, and all of those people were equally right. Number 2. Horn Hardart Frankfurter. A beef frankfurter steamed until the casing was taut and the interior was hot all the way through, served in a soft white roll with mustard available at the condiment station. It cost 10 cents in 1945. The frankfurter came from a supplier Horn Hardart had used since the company's founding, and the recipe for the frankfurter had not changed since the relationship began. It tasted of actual beef and actual smoke and actual casing rather than of the pink water that passes for a frankfurter in most American contexts today. Construction workers ate 2 of them for lunch. Children ate one and remembered it for 50 years. The supplier went out of business in 1987. Horn Hardart could not find a replacement that tasted the same. When the last automat closed 4 years later, the frankfurter had already been gone for years and the regulars had already been mourning it. Number 1. The nickel slot. This was not a food, it was a system. You walked up to the wall of small glass windows. Each window showed you exactly what was behind it. You put your nickels in the slot beside the window you wanted. The window swung open. You took your food. The window closed. Another portion appeared within minutes, placed there by a worker in the kitchen behind the wall who replenished each compartment as it emptied. There was no cashier to impress, no waiter to tip, no menu to study, no decision to make beyond which window to open. The food was visible before you paid for it. The price was displayed beside every window. You knew exactly what you were getting and exactly what it cost before you committed a single nickel. Dorothy Kline put her 60 cents in those slots in 1952 and fed herself lunch for 3 days and went back to her desk at the insurance company on Lexington Avenue and did the same thing the next week and the week after that and every week for 19 years until the automat nearest her office closed and she was 71 years old, and she said in an interview given that year that she had eaten better for 60 cents at Horn Hardart than she had ever eaten anywhere for any amount of money since. She was not being sentimental, she was being accurate. Make one of these this week. The baked beans from scratch, the rice pudding, the macaroni and cheese with real cheddar and breadcrumbs baked until the top cracks. Sit down and eat it without looking at your phone. Then come back and tell me if it tasted like something or if it tasted like nothing and which one surprised you more. Because these were not just foods, they were the proof that honest cooking made with real ingredients and sold at a fair price to everyone equally was not just possible in America. For 60 years, it was Tuesday. Drop in the comments if you ever ate at a Horn Hardart. I want to know what you ordered and what year it was and whether the coffee really tasted like what everyone says it tasted like.